Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2013 horror film Texas Chainsaw, or to give its title in the cinemas, Texas Chainsaw 3D. The film is directed by John Lussenhop and it stars Alexandra Daddario, Tanya Raymond, Scott Eastwood, Trey Songz and Dan Yeager as Leatherface. Right, okay. The film starts with something of it's set in the past, basically, and we see the town basically turn on the family, set fire to the house. They assume everybody's dead. However, that is not the case. Leatherface has been holed up in the house for many, many years, and a young baby that was taken from the scene and raised unaware of who her adopted parents were, is played by Alexandra Daddario, Heather. She learns who she is. Essentially, she gets a letter from her grandma gifting her the house, the family house. She goes out there with some friends, and they are all introduced to Leatherface fairly quickly, and chaos, mayhem, and lots of chainsaw action ensues. Right, what are my thoughts on Texas Chainsaw? Very similar to the last one I reviewed. I thought the last one I reviewed, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, I thought the production values were fine. I thought, the killings were quite a lot of fun, lots of chainsaw action, some scares and frights, etc., etc. But absolutely did not need to exist, really, for a lot of different reasons. And I feel more so about this one. This is an odd film because on the surface, if you like, if you just take it at face value as like just a horror film with no legacy to its name or anything like that, no legacy to live up to, so to speak, it's okay in that sense. You've got some fun, cool scenes. You get some, nice chainsaw action, choppy here and there, and all the usual stuff. And you get quite a compelling lead in Alexandra Daddario. But if you take more than 5 seconds to actually think about what's going on in this film, it all falls to pieces. It's literally a house of cards, this film. There's plot holes that you could drive the Titanic through, and it just baffles the mind. There's so much that you kind of think, hang on a minute. And the first thing is, so this kind of acts as a sequel to the original and Texas Chainsaw, the beginning. So it acts as a sequel to those two films. But when you think about it, you just think, hang on a minute. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, was a prequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, the 2003 remake. So how can that be? But it is, because at the beginning, they saw scenes in from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, into the beginning of this. Pretending that that's the events first, and then the events of Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974 come after that. And then the house is all burnt down and everything, and the locals have taken their revenge on the family and Leatherface. And then it jumps forward in time to like modern times with Alexandra Daddario's character and stuff. So but you kind of think, and I didn't pick up at first, and it was only a few minutes after the intro had started and stuff, and the story were getting going, and I'm like, hang on a minute, that doesn't make any sense. But I'm kind of like, okay, don't carry on, don't think about it. And then, as I mentioned, Heather, Alexandra Daddario's character, is taken from the scene when the house is being burnt down and stuff as a baby by one of the locals and raised as his own with his wife. And then when she's an adult, she gets a letter from her grandma, a real grandma, saying, "Oh, come to the house. I'm leaving it you, by the way," sort of thing. How on earth did she know? A, where she was, and B, that she survived at all. And the only explanation they give in this film is that they never lost her. They always knew, the family always knew where she was. Okay, so why didn't they come and get her then? They waited until she'd grown up, just to, when everybody's seemingly dead, it would seem, most of the family, send her a letter and say, "Come on. By the way, Leatherface is living downstairs. Deal with him." Madness, absolutely madness. But I think the biggest crime for me of this film is that they make out that the villagers or the community, the town, are the villains of the piece. And this family, and Leatherface in particular, is some kind of, I don't know, vigilante hero or something. It's absolutely bizarre. So let's take it at face value. You look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning and the events of Texas Chainsaw Massacre itself. Massacred people, yeah? Butchered them. Cold-blooded. And not only that, ate them. They were the cannibals. So the villagers did what probably most villages and communities would do, certainly at that time, and in what I'm presuming is like deep Texas, deep south. They burnt the place down. But no, the film presents them as the villains and Leatherface as some kind of weird hero. And they present Alexandra Daddario's character as a family member. Once he realizes who she is like, oh, I'm not going to kill you. You're one of my family, kind of thing. He backs off. And then there's this weird bond between them develops. And you're just kind of like, hang on a minute, love. He's just butchered all your friends. Literally, all of them. He's killed them. Chopped them limb from limb. And you're just kind of like, oh, I don't mind. He's family. So I don't mind. I'll look after him now. Whoever wrote this needs a good old slap across the face with a kipper, because it's absolute nonsense. And I found it very, very hard to look past all the issues with this film. It's just bizarre writing that makes absolutely no sense, and it's bizarre, nonsensical writing and storytelling underneath a very glossy and well-made horror film. And it's really odd, because like I say, if you don't know a great deal about the franchise, which, to be fair, before I started watching these, I didn't, you might just kind of watch it, turn your brain off, if you like, and think, oh, well, that was all right. Lots of chainsaw action, some graphic kills here and there, and good quality production values going on there. But no, I just... It was a real head scratcher, this one. The quality of film I don't really have a problem with, but the nonsensical storytelling and the way it just keeps tripping over itself was pretty unforgivable. It makes it, for me, a non-event, because it just makes too many errors in regards to the narrative and, the history of this. I mean, it just got lost in the whole thing, in my opinion. So it's not a good film for that reason. For that reason alone, turning one of the biggest mass killers of all time into some kind of weird heroic character, for me, was just absolutely daft. It made no sense to me. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Texas Chainsaw, or Texas Chainsaw 3D, if you saw it in 3D, I suppose, at the cinema. Yeah, so I think there is the other one that came after this that I think was even worse, or reviewed even worse. Is it just called Leatherface, that one, where he's a teenager or something like that? And then I might go back and watch the second and third ones that came after the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this one if you've seen it, and I will of course be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.